This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the best all-in-one platform for all of your website building needs. Hey guys, it's Celestia, and while social media has done wonders when it comes to allowing artists to share and sell their work around the world with ease, I think we can all agree that in a lot of other ways, the impact it's had on both artists and art itself is not quite so positive. From toxicity and bullying in online spaces to the quality of art being judged by the number of likes it gets. I've spoken at length in videos like the ones in the iCards above about the damage that's been done and is still being done by social media's influence. But there's one consequence of it that worries me even more than any of those, and it's the topic of today's video: addiction to instant gratification. The platforms that we share our art on are designed to keep users using them for as long as possible, and they do that by giving us a constant, massive stream of content to engage with that never runs out and gives us a burst of dopamine each time we do without us needing to do almost anything to earn it. It's just there, waiting for us whenever we want it, providing us with entertainment and satisfaction with the press of an icon. And of course that's going to be addictive. Something that can just make you feel good immediately is going to have immense appeal, especially when things are as rough as they are right now and we're not exactly drowning in things that make us happy. And it would be one thing, albeit still not a good one, if addiction to that instant gratification began and ended with social media, but it doesn't. It's what got us addicted to instant gratification, but that addiction is observably and quickly infecting every other part of our lives. Because we've gotten so used to being able to get that satisfaction immediately through social media, we've begun to expect that same ease from everything we do. Constant instant gratification gradually erodes our ability to focus on anything that doesn't offer it. Not only are we no longer interested in anything that doesn't give us some kind of immediate reward, our attention spans are degrading to the point that we can't concentrate on things that require patience and long periods of time spent without those rewards. We're frustrated when the algorithm doesn't immediately suggest a show, movie, or video we're interested in, and we actually have to sit down and search for one. We're turning to services that summarize books down into their key points because we no longer have the patience to read them ourselves. We're generating art with AI because developing the skills to create it ourselves just takes way too long, and we want it now. And it's not just that either. Dependence on instant gratification is having an impact, and not a good one, on pretty much every aspect of art. The appreciation for and interest in it, the desire to create it, the ability to learn how to, that's all being threatened more and more as it gradually forces our attention spans to deteriorate. So in today's video, I want to talk more about how addiction to instant gratification is hurting artists, and go over some ways that those of you who are struggling with it, keeping you from being able to make art, might be able to cope with it better and push through. First though, let me take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace, a longtime partner of the channel. I ramble about Squarespace so often that there are new jokes about me being married to them every week, to the point that I've actually started to look forward to reading them. Shout out to this one, by the way, it actually got a real out loud laugh out of me. But there's a reason I endorse them so passionately and consistently. I sincerely believe they're the best website building and hosting platform out there, and that makes them an incredible asset to any artist. Whether you're looking for industry work or just freelance commissions, having a professional looking portfolio to display your art on is a must-have. Not even the most beautiful art can catch a client's eye without a site that makes it shine. And with Squarespace, you can make exactly that, and in the easiest, most hassle-free way possible too. I made both my previous branded cutesy portfolio and my new revamped, more professional version there, and their tools and templates were so versatile and user-friendly that both styles were just as simple to create. As amazing as their portfolio options are though, they're just the beginning of what Squarespace can help you build. They have a massive library of templates that will have exceptional options for any kind of site you could possibly need. And no matter what that is, it's just as easy to take it one step further and turn it into an online store too, because they offer all of the tools you could possibly need to do so. The ability to manage payments and inventory, handle shipping and fulfillment, and even boost your SEO to help you get more eyes on your site and maximize the number of customers shopping there. It's perfect for selling merch and physical goods of any kind, but selling services like consultations, event management, editing, and even art commissions is just as easy because they have everything you need for it. A streamlined workflow, built-in appointment scheduling, email marketing tools, and so much more. Your customers get to enjoy that versatility too because they offer all of the most popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay, and even allow you the option to send individualized branded invoices to specific clients, so you can start accepting orders from all around the world with just a few clicks. So whether you're an artist in need of a portfolio, an entrepreneur building an online store, a creator setting up an interactive blog, or a small business owner making a landing page, Squarespace is the place to do it. And you can find out yourself by going to squarespace.com to get your own free trial today. And once you've built the perfect site that you're ready to launch, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by going to squarespace.com/DuchessCelestia, link in the description. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and please go check them out. Now let's talk about instant gratification. Like I said, the dependence on it that social media has fostered in a terrifyingly massive number of us has led to some fairly significant consequences on both art and artists, primarily in three main main ways. The first and most glaringly obvious is that it's massively diminishing appreciation for art, something that I'm sure has contributed in no small way to the popularization of generative AI. On a purely aesthetic level, if the majority of people viewing art online have diminished attention spans and are used to rapidly scrolling through content without viewing or engaging with any individual piece of it for longer than a few seconds, the details and intricacies of art that give it so much value and take artists so long to create are becoming increasingly irrelevant. If people look at a piece of art for one entire second before liking it and moving on, they're really only going to notice and care about the most obvious elements like the subject matter, and the style, and the color palette, which I suspect is part of the reason why brightly colored art performs exceedingly well online regardless of quality, beyond bright colors just genuinely being really visually appealing to a lot of people. When I see a piece of art I really love, I spend at least a few minutes actually examining it because I still have an interest in the less obvious aspects of it. And I know a lot of other people still do too. I'm not trying to claim to be the one true art appreciator left in the world that's better than all of you TikTok scrolling normies. I genuinely worry that this is coming across that way because I don't mean it to. And I completely acknowledge that even some of the most instant gratification addicted people out there are still capable of taking the time to notice and appreciate the detail in art they love, and many do. But the general culture social media has cultivated doesn't encourage you to. It reduces art to content, and it reduces content to a second-long distraction, leaving it genuinely difficult sometimes for people not to scroll through it as quickly as possible so that they can move on to the next piece of it. And honestly, I think that hurts both the artists making that work and the people failing to see what's so beautiful about it. Even more concerningly though, artists know this is happening, and it's pushing more and more of them to just stop bothering to make more complex and detailed work at all, even if that's what they themselves would have preferred. If you know no one will notice and some will actually be turned off of your art if it's too detailed to be immediately and summarily appreciated, you're probably gonna end up simplifying it to save yourself time and effort and cater to what they really want, art that's easily consumed. Especially if social media has also left you feeling like your art's value is dependent on the number of likes it gets, which is, again, its own no less alarming problem that I've discussed before. Finally, the fact that appreciation for both art's detail and its value itself is diminishing so significantly means more and more consumers of it are viewing AI-generated images as a more appealing alternative. Number one, if the details don't matter anymore, it doesn't matter if AI gets them wrong. Number two, if art itself is no longer valuable as anything other than a piece of content, it no longer matters whether or not a human made it. In fact, a human having made it can be viewed as more of a detriment than an asset. It takes them time to, and addiction to instant gratification means that if they want art, they want it now. They don't want to wait to find and commission an artist who will take weeks or months to complete it if they can put a prompt into a program and get what they want immediately. And even if they don't have a particular piece of art that they want created, they want constant content to consume. And artists take time to produce what they make. It takes AI no time at all to generate hundreds and hundreds of pretty pictures to scroll through. And human artists that can't provide a similar quantity of content are becoming less worthwhile to follow and support in comparison. And that's a self-perpetuating cycle. Using AI regularly to generate art and regularly viewing and engaging with it only reinforces the devaluation of human-made art, leaving the latter to dwindle further and further the more that you do. But that's just the first art-related problem dependence on instant gratification has led to. The second is just as worrying, if not more. It's making actual artists and would-be artists less interested in making it. Like I said before, the ease with which instant gratification can be achieved through social media has led to people expecting that same ease from everything else in their lives, and that includes the creation of art. They want to be good at art now. You know what? No, not just good, they want to be great. AI-generated images drowning every social media platform set a high standard of quality even with all of their flaws, and the sheer volume of AI art out there has left human artists wanting and expecting themselves to be able to achieve that same level of quality quickly, if not immediately. But you can't. You just can't. Becoming an artist with that degree of skill takes years of constant, dedicated effort, study, and practice, and it's impossible to skip that and create art that looks as good as what you see online right away, or even soon. That used to be something that was a frustrating but universally known and accepted truth, and aspiring artists knew to expect that when starting out, so they were prepared to deal with it. But both instant gratification and the popularization of AI-generated images have left people with not just the expectation, but the need to be good at art right away, and it's left more and more people frustrated to the point of giving up altogether when they try and fail. Even when they do recognize that getting good at art is a long process, their brains have been essentially trained by that point to expect instant results from what they do, something that's only exacerbated by the fact that online spaces surround them with the work of others that looks effortless, and content suggesting that the people who made it did so with immediate ease. And don't get me started on the plethora of videos, articles, and posts in general filled with titles like "Make art like this in 10 days," filled with advice that even at its best will never allow the people consuming that content to make art of that caliber that quickly, even if followed to the letter. Maybe after years of applying that advice and practicing, but not right away. But it's packaged to make it seem like it'll happen right away, because the people making it know how desperate the people consuming it are for that instant gratification. Not only that, but art isn't supposed to be easy. The development of any skill isn't supposed to be easy, and content suggesting that they're making it easy is either lying or so oversimplified that it's fundamentally incomplete. It reminds me of an email I got recently with the subject line, "Make learning Japanese easy." My immediate response was, learning Japanese isn't easy and it's not supposed to be, and if you're claiming that you're making it easy, you're teaching it really poorly. And I opened the email and I was right. It was basically memorize these 20 phrases that'll get you through any conversation in Japan, with no information at all whatsoever on the vocabulary involved or the sentence structure and verb conjugation utilized. Yes, it is easy to memorize 20 phrases, and all you get out of that is the ability to repeat those specific phrases, because you get what you give. If you put in a tiny amount of effort, you get a tiny reward. If you had done the hard thing and learned the words that made up those phrases and why those verbs were conjugated that way, and how and why they were all combined as they were, you could learn those phrases and how to form a million other phrases just like them. This is the same for any language, any art form, any skill. It's supposed to be hard because thorough learning is hard. If someone says it's easy and they didn't lie to you and it actually is, it's usually because what you're learning is oversimplified, incomplete, and insufficient. Learning is hard, and if it isn't, you are not learning everything you should. But instant gratification has pushed art education to be peddled as something that has to be easy in order to be worthwhile and achievable. So people either aren't bothering at all when they try it and it isn't easy, or they're seeking out the actually easy, quote-unquote, education and not learning what they need to succeed, because what they're being taught is incomplete. And even if what they're learning is complete and adequate, learning a skill takes time. You have to practice applying those techniques and expanding your understanding of them over a long period of time in order to perfect them. It's impossible for that to be done quickly, much less immediately. Progress is slow, and it's supposed to be, and it doesn't achieve obvious results, it achieves gradual ones. Approaching it with a dependency on immediate results automatically sets you up to fail and blame yourself for not doing something impossible. But that's just the technical consequence of an instant gratification focused mindset towards art education. The emotional consequence is just as significant. Not only is wanting to be good at art immediately and make art immediately without having to spend a lot of time on it going to set you up for failure, it's going to set you up to be incapable of enjoying the creative process altogether. First of all, creating art means inevitably making a lot of subpar pieces in your life. It means failing a million times as you learn and grow, something that you gradually build up a tolerance for that allows you to still enjoy making art even if you don't enjoy the end result. You end up learning how to enjoy the process of making art independent from the end result, so that even when the latter disappoints you, which it will always do sometimes, you still love the time you spent making it and you want to make more. If you don't learn to enjoy making imperfect art before you get good, you're never going to enjoy being an artist, because you'll never develop that love for the process itself. Because even when you do get good, you're still going to end up making imperfect art sometimes, if not most times. Even the best artists end up making art they don't like that disappoints them. You're supposed to suffer through that early on to prepare yourself to do so indefinitely and find joy in it anyway. Second of all, wanting to make exceptional art without having to suffer through the 20 to 30 hours spent making each piece, regardless of your skill level, is robbing you of a massive amount of happiness, because those 20 to 30 hours shouldn't be suffering. Art is supposed to be something that you enjoy making so much that you don't want to rush through it and have the final piece immediately. You're supposed to enjoy that time. Approaching art with the view that you should minimize the amount of time spent on it and only value the end result completely devalues one of the most beautiful parts of being an artist. The end result brings you a few minutes of brief but admittedly significant satisfaction. The process brings you hours of joy and motivation to keep working. I saw a post recently talking about this. Someone asked an artist if they use generative AI in their art, and they explained, "I feel like people get so hung up on the results of a thing that they don't appreciate that the process of making it is actually enjoyable. It's like having a friend who likes to bake and asking them if they'd like to just buy cupcakes from the store instead of making them. The end result of the cupcake is secondary to the joy you get having made cupcakes. Art isn't a chore or something I want to avoid. Art is fun. It's rewarding. It feels good to do it. You may as well be asking me if I want the AI to watch television for me. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not participating and would gain nothing from it." Instant gratification convinces us that the end result is the only thing that has any value in any scenario. Skip cooking so you can enjoy eating, even if cooking itself is fun and satisfying for many whether they eat what they cook or not. Skip reading so you can enjoy knowing the fundamental message the book was sending, even if the context and setting and delivery that you missed out on would have been enjoyable and an emphasis of that message. Comment that a YouTuber should get to the point faster because you'd rather watch a 10-minute video you don't have to pay attention to for long, even though the 25 or 30-minute video they made instead expands upon those points in a way that prompts more thoughtful contemplation and hopefully hopefully more understanding. Not projecting at all. Anyway, let's say you go into art with an instant gratification mindset and somehow manage not to give up because you have to work very slowly towards results. You push through it and you get good anyway. You're gonna hate every second of making art, and that will be the part that takes up 99% of your time. And you'll only ever enjoy the few minutes of satisfaction you get from finishing a piece, because that's the only part you ever learned to like. You're the thief of your own joy. But that's not the only problem that this hypothetical artist who has pushed through the instant gratification addiction and retained the desire to pursue art will face. Bringing me to the final problem I want to discuss today. That even if artists do still have the passion and will to want to pursue art, despite the fact that it's hard for them to do, given that the process of learning to create it doesn't indulge their need for immediate results, their need for immediate results is still going to make that immensely difficult. Like I've already discussed, art requires patience, dedication, persistence, years of consistency, and a tolerance for prolonged periods of time where nothing you create feels rewarding for you. A dependence on instant gratification makes all of those things feel unbearable. People can't focus like that. A lot of young artists have been conditioned not to be able to, by no fault of their own. It makes art feel like an unbearable chore and not a rewarding hobby, and it makes it so difficult for them to motivate themselves to keep making it. Why spend your limited spare time doing something that feels like more work? Which brings me to the final, vaguely more positive segment of the video. Advice on how to, well, do that. Get through addiction to instant gratification while being an artist. Something that's antithetical to it in almost every way. Because it's hard, but it's not impossible. The first piece of advice is to set aside 5 minutes every day for art. Not for slow progress on one piece of art that feels inconsequential because you made so little of it compared to how much of it is still left to go. I mean 5 minutes with a blank canvas or sheet of paper where the only goal is to just draw for 5 minutes. Make completing 5 minutes of just drawing your singular objective. No matter how much or little you accomplish during that time, you have accomplished your goal. You did it, and you get to enjoy the satisfaction derived from knowing that. Because even if it's slow, you will see progress in the development of your skills from just 5 minutes a day of undirected drawing. And you'll get that dopamine at the end because just having done it is a step towards that. Directed drawing and study and setting more productive goals may be a bigger, more impactful step, but sometimes that can feel like too much, especially if you struggle with this. Associating just drawing with completing a goal, no matter what you draw or how well you draw it, allows you to associate a dopamine release with the act of making art, something that will gradually give you a more positive view of it, and that positive view will become a foundation you can build on, so that you have the motivation to use those 5 minutes for directed study in the future, or turn it into 10 or 20. Next piece of advice, regularly reflect on your art and your growth as an artist. Take time to just look at the work that you made a year ago and compare it to the work that you made yesterday, and actively analyze the areas in which visible improvement has taken place. Growth as an artist is, as I said, gradual, and you won't see it if you're comparing your second most recent piece to your most recent piece. But if you compare a piece of art you made a year or two ago to one you made yesterday, you will be able to see a difference. It will give you the reward dopamine you want. It'll remind you why you should keep going, and it'll remind you that progress has value too, not just perfection, which, by the way, is unattainable anyway and generally not a good idea to aim for. Okay, next, for people who struggle with addiction to instant gratification, complicated, big artistic projects can be incredibly draining and daunting. There's always so much left to do that the progress that you do make feels insignificant and unsatisfying, and it feels like you're always grappling with the urge to give up. That doesn't mean you should. It means that when you're feeling like you want to, you should take a break. But not from art, just from that piece. Take a break from working on it, and take yourself back to that blank canvas and 5 minutes of artistic freedom, where just making any art at all is the goal. Make it 10 or 20 minutes if you have to. Make it the rest of your night. Remind yourself that just drawing is something rewarding, no matter how much progress you make. And come back to that piece later once that reminder is fresh in your mind. Balance out work on that piece with art that's sole purpose is to make you remember why you love art. The next piece of advice is similar. Start being more conscious of what you like about drawing. Even when you struggle with the need for instant gratification, there are parts of the process that still give it to you before the final end result. For me, completing the line art gives me a dopamine rush even though I know there's still a long way to go before the piece is finished. Same with finishing the sketch. Finishing the flat color? Not so much. Making some degree of progress towards finishing the rendering without actually finishing it? Nothing. If you can pinpoint the moments during the creative process that give you that feeling of satisfaction, you can use that. Rendering a piece usually takes the most time. It's usually the most unrewarding, because it taking longer means longer spent without completing one stage of the process. If that drains you because it feels like there's no reward, take more breaks during that stage. If finishing a sketch gives you reward dopamine but doesn't take that long, then when you're feeling burnt out rendering one piece, go finish the sketch of another one. It gives you the reward that you're lacking while still contributing to your artistic growth and progression towards the completion of future pieces. When your mana is low, go use some of your energy instead, rather than resting altogether, because it's still full. Just figure out which parts of the artistic process are mana or energy for you so that you can plan around that. Finally, the last piece of advice is to gamify your art education. Look at Mario. There are like a million levels in each game, and if there were no breaks between those levels and it was just one continuous experience, no one would play it. It would feel unbeatable and probably not fun. But you launch the game for the first time, you beat the first level, and it doesn't matter that you know you're nowhere near the end of it. You feel a sense of accomplishment because you finished that level, and you know you'll feel that sense of accomplishment many times before you do finish the game. So it makes you want to keep playing. It forces you to enjoy the process and not just the end result, because seeing that flag on the castle go up when you finally manage to struggle through a tough level makes you relieved and satisfied and reassured that you can do it again with the next one. Art education, and I mean really all education, is the same. If you only look at your art compared to the art that you want to be able to make, you're gonna want to give up because of how impossible it feels to ever get there, because of how much time you know you're gonna have to spend working towards that. But if you set smaller goals between your current art and that art, even if that art is still the end goal, you get that same feeling of satisfaction and dopamine release as a castle flag Mario level completion when you beat one, no matter how many more levels are left. If your hero is an expert artist, find a mediocre artist between you and them that you still think is good and aim for their skill level first. If that's still too much, find another one between you and that one, just so you can visualize your goals. Keep doing that. Keep forcing yourself to set more realistic expectations, because you can actually meet them. And every time you do meet them, you'll be more confident in your ability to meet the higher expectations of the next level. You need rewards. Even before instant gratification was this much of a problem, we all have. Imagine going to school and not having tests. You just get quarterly exams and final exams. Before those points, you have no idea how well you're doing. You don't get graded on your assignments or smaller tests. You get no praise or feedback. You just get the results of your exams after long periods of self-doubt and worry. Those exams will feel monumental, and those assignments and tests will feel inconsequential, insignificant, pointless, worthless, and not at all indicative of growth, even though they are. You need those smaller milestones to make you feel like you can achieve the bigger ones, and you need to find ways to give them to yourself as an artist so that you don't give up, because you shouldn't. You need reminders of your progress so that your brain can give you the mental fireworks above the Mario castles. I really hope Super Mario games still have castles, flags, and fireworks, because I haven't had time to play one since I was like 18, and that's almost 10 years ago, so this will be a really ineffective metaphor if not. Anyway, in conclusion, social media may have led to a massive increase in addiction to instant gratification, and yes, that has had an overwhelmingly negative impact on art and artists, and we should all push ourselves to be more consciously aware of it. But there are ways to push through it and motivate ourselves to keep creating, and they're worth pursuing. Art is worth pursuing, no matter how difficult it can feel to make. This is a hurdle, absolutely, but a hurdle is a reason to force yourself to jump higher, not a reason to stop jumping. I'm sorry, I spent high school running track and playing Mario, and apparently it shows. Just don't give up on art because it feels too hard. Find ways to make it feel easier. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Haruki Saluzzo, Peachy, Kingo James, Art of Amethyst Fable, Extinction Animation, Andy the Hedgehog, Kai the Memer, Jazz, Just Sayori, Stardust, Hailstorm, and Darkholder, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Jamisha Walker, Alengshi, Kim Yen, Crazy Asar, Gentong, Grayson Xavier, Blamage, TC Pratt, Finn, Celine Merriman, Eldritchia, The Stray Dog, Ulura, Greg Noble, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Catbus, Mac, Lucy Amajiki, Selena Bibi, Pride A, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Wing Tang Wong, Marie Greer, Potato, Jazz, Voidwalker, Latte Tabby, Christian Cook, Adam Surovietz, Doriaki, Varius, Hailstorm, Emo Queen Jules, Lord Darkholder, Show, That's It, and Craig, and I'll see you in the next one.